Hi. I am running just a minute behind. I don't quite have this set up yet. So give me just a minute while I get my hoop in here. How is everyone's stems looking? Fabulous, I hope. Okay. Let's see now. Okay. Wow, hold on. This is wobbly. Okay, so the problem with this variegated thread that a lot of people were running into was not being able to find all the right colors. I am so sorry. I struggled to find enough just for kids. So I actually have this really old one from like a hand-me-down stash that I'm going to be using because I could not find enough of the orange for me to use. Like I had to give away the one that I had bought for me. So anyways, that's what I'm going to be using today. But sorry, I'm trying to pull up this pattern really quick. If you are using the colors that I recommended, I don't even know what color it is, you guys. Love your hoop stand. Oh, thanks. I decorated it. So it has all these fun embroidery stickers. I love it. Hi, Jana. Okay. I'm sorry, this is taking me a minute. I'm usually more on top of it, but here we are. I am not seeing you. Sorry, give me a second. I was able to find variegated threads at Joann. Yes, I found most at Joann's, but I just couldn't find enough for kids and myself. And Joann's is hit and miss. Some people's have them and some people don't. So anyways, I am going to use this one, but there we go. 4124 is the color if you are using the colors from the pattern. From the pattern, the suggested ones. What is this? Okay. Ordered mine from DMC. Oh, there you go. That was a smart idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but I didn't. Okay, so today we're going to outline our pumpkin. So one thing with variegated threads, you can, here is the sample one that I did. So I left all the threads together, just 6 strands, and you can kind of see like it changes colors as it moves. So you can do that, or what I'm going to do this time, just to have something different, is I'm going to split my threads. So splitting threads. So I'm going to do, so each, like the embroidery floss comes in 6 strands. So I'm going to split it in half and do 3 and 3. Let's see. Grab that one more. And then these are twisted together. So if you pull slowly enough, they'll just untwist. I usually do hold it in my hand and then run my finger down it. This is an old piece of thread, and so it will tangle easily if I am not careful. And then just separate those. Okay. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it back together, but I'm gonna do the opposite ends with each other. So I'm gonna do the light side and the dark side. So I untangled it and then I just flipped it. So this is just the other end. So then it'll kind of still be variegated, but it will have 2 different colors. So my ends look the same, like one dark, one light. And we'll see what kind of effect we get that way. Where is my needle? I didn't put it on my needle minder, or the kids walked off with it because they do that. Okay. So whatever way you want to do it, I'm going to use all 6 strands and I'm going to flip my thread. So I have half going one way and half going the other way, if that makes sense. Get that needle threaded and then we'll start doing some chain stitch. So we're going to do chain stitch and reverse chain stitch today. So I'm gonna stitch the two sides of the pumpkin, and then I'm gonna let you decide what you need to practice or what you liked better, and you can do the center on your own, okay? Let me zoom in just a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna start up here. So with chain stitch, we are gonna start at the edge and we're gonna go down in that same hole or directly next to it. Now, if you have a knot at the end of your thread like I do, just be careful when you're putting this back down that you don't grab that knot. Okay, I usually will like hold it out of the way like this when I put my needle down so I can kind of feel where my needle's going. Because if you grab that knot, you're not gonna be super happy with your life. Okay, so what we're gonna do is similar to yesterday. So we're gonna keep this loop open like this. And we're gonna do 1 stitch. We're gonna come up inside of our loop. We're gonna pull that snug. And then we're gonna go back down in that same hole that we just came up in. And that's our first chain. So we're just gonna keep doing that. So this next one, we're gonna leave that loop open. Keep your stitches about the same length. We're gonna come up. Whoops. And just pull that snug. I like to pull it snug before I go back down. Because then it sits a little bit more nicely. Chain stitch is one of my favorite textures. It's super fun for outlining things or for lettering. If you do smaller stitches, similar to like the stem stitch, if you do smaller stitches, it's obviously there's going to be more chains. So if you're kind of going for a specific look, you can make these larger or smaller stitches. I really like chain stitch for cursive lettering because if you do them small enough, then they look really good like on the curves. Like the curves of the letters. The orange in the pattern is not quite so different. Like this one is like almost like yellow and orange, but the orange, the 4124 there's less change. So it's a little bit, won't be quite as what's the word, like polarizing, but I still think it's fun because it'll change colors here in a minute. So I like chain stitch if I'm going to be stitching in an area around a lot of other threads. So like if we had already filled all of this in, I would use chain stitch. Otherwise, I prefer reverse chain stitch, and I will show you that after I get to the bottom here. So this is also your chance. If you drew a line that's not quite straight, you can straighten it a little while you're stitching. So if you're not quite right on the line, like when your needle comes up, don't worry about it. Like you can kind of move that around a little bit if you need to create a better curve. The pattern is a guide, but let the needle be the leader. I don't know. Do you guys have any questions about chain stitch while I'm working on this? Oh my goodness, I've got a knot. So, is anyone behind yet? Are we worried about being behind already? I actually think that these videos will not be as long as I was anticipating. Sometimes I feel like they'll take longer than they actually do. So I said approximately an hour, but I'm thinking probably closer to 30 to 45 minutes a day. Hold on, I got a knot back here. Me, I haven't started yet. Oh, Jana. You'll get there. Okay, and now, see, now I've pulled my loop too tight, like it needs to come up here. So I'm gonna come in here and just pull this loop a little bit bigger. To make sure you're pulling on the right end. Okay, here we go. The struggles of stitching. Just pull that, there we go. Okay, now we'll pull that snug. Almost to the end. See, now we've changed colors. We're like totally orange now. Sometimes if my thread is in the way, I'll hold on to it out of the way and I'll come up where I want to go. And then I'll loop the thread over the top. Because sometimes it's just in the way. Or like keep a bigger loop. But generally I'll make it smaller and just move it out of the way and then loop it over the top. Because that's just what seems to work best for me. Chain stitch looks so good. I love chain stitch. Love this pattern. Yes, we love pumpkins. I wanted something that would be like simple, but still like you would want to put up to display. So, okay. So once we get to the end of our chain, so right now, if we were doing another chain, we would go back down and start another one. But because this is the end, we're just gonna go down on the other side of this thread. So let me zoom in so you can see that. So we came up inside the loop and then we're gonna go down on the other side of the loop and just tack that down. Okay? And there we have our cute little chain stitch. Cute, yes? Okay, so I'm gonna do the other side. I'm gonna go up this side, but I'm gonna do a reverse chain stitch. So it looks super, super, super similar. We're just gonna do it a little bit differently. So normally with chain stitch, we start at the end of our line, but with reverse chain stitch, we stitch one stitch in. So I'm gonna come up here. Hold on, my needle is all twisted. Okay, so I'm gonna go up and down in that same hole, and then I'm gonna go up inside that loop, and this is the end of our chain. So I'm gonna just tack it down. All right, and now we're gonna start working backwards. So we're gonna go one stitch length backwards, and then we're gonna go and weave under here. So that creates our chain, and then we're gonna go back down. Okay, so it's still creating these chains, but we're just weaving through them to make the chains instead of like stitching through the loops. So this is why I like this one if there's no other stitches around, because I don't want to snag. Like if there was a bunch of stitches in here, then I would be like snagging, possibly snagging them. So I usually, from the back side, I am like pushing it forward, like where the stitches that I'm weaving under. So I kind of push it up so it's a little easier to see what I'm doing. And then I kind of just wiggle my needle so that I don't grab any threads. Sometimes if you're using a sharp needle, like these DMC size 5 are really sharp, you want to make sure you're not grabbing something while you're weaving under that. A little bit bigger. But I feel like I have an easier time making consistent stitches that are all the same when I do it this way. And I feel like my stitches look a little bit cleaner as well. Like I feel like they're a little bit more, like they're a little bit flat and smooth instead of like raised and kind of bumpy. I don't know. To each their own. Everybody is gonna like one or the other better, but mine tend to look, my reverse chain stitch tends to look a little better. And you could go either way when you're weaving this. So you could go up if you wanted as well. Like it looks pretty much the same. I mean, like you can kind of see like this one's on top rather than this one on top. So like if you're looking really carefully, you could see it. I would pick one direction and stick with it, but whatever direction you want to go. And I usually, it depends on if there's anything else around it. Since there's nothing else stitched on here, I'm not worried about like snagging other threads. But if there was something around it, I might change the direction that I'm going. I tend to go right to left though, until we get to the top, and then I'm gonna be annoyed because it's gonna be up there. Oh, see? Do you see right here? I kind of like grabbed that thread. So I just go in here and kind of pull that, see if I can get that back in a little bit. Or just like kind of move it under the stitch next to it. And normally I'm holding my hoop in my lap, so I'll just turn my hoop. But I have it in a hoop stand so that I'm not wiggling all over. So that makes weaving a little bit more difficult. It's like awkward angles. I think I might start going this way. I'm changing directions just because it'll be a little bit easier on this side of the pumpkin. You can also see like my thread is starting to like twist, like these colors are kind of twisted. So if that bugs you, then like let your needle just like drop like this and it'll untwist. Like if they start to get too twisted with all this weaving. I'm almost out of thread. One awesome thing I love about reverse chain stitch is if you run out of thread while you're doing it, it's like not a big deal. With a regular chain stitch, you have to like stop your stitch like you did down here at the end and then start a new one. I mean, not start a new one, but like you'd come like up and like you'd end it, and then with your new thread you'd come up and down in this same spot. So you just have like a lot of thread in one spot. I mean, it's totally doable and fine, but I like to avoid it when I can. Okay, that is it for this thread. I'm gonna tie this off. So I have these threads right here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go under that. I'm just gonna go under it one time. Sometimes I'll go twice, and then just tie that off. And trim it. And let me grab some more thread real quick, hold on. Separating those. Oh, let's see. Takes a minute to thread a needle. All right. Tying a little knot. And get back to it. So I'm just gonna go up a stitch and I can just keep going. Now we have our knot right here because that's where we started. So just make sure that's out of your way before you try to push your needle through. We don't want to be trying to stitch through a knot. That is not fun. I'm starting to get a little off my pattern a little, so I'm gonna try and get back on there here at the end. So if you drew like with a regular pencil, just make sure, like this line is thick enough that, I mean, it covers it plus some. And so like this is a thicker stitch that is easier to cover up. Some stitches are a little thinner, especially if you use less strands. Like if you used 3 strands, this obviously wouldn't be as thick, but I wanted the edge to be nice and prominent. Dun, dun. Oh my gosh, I have that. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. It's just like repeating in my head over and over. I gotta stop watching reels. All right, one more. What did you call this stitch? This is a reverse chain stitch. So it's a chain stitch, but you're just doing it backwards. Okay. So see how they pretty much look the same? I would say that this one, hold on, let me tighten this. I feel like this is not as consistent for me as like these are. I mean, these aren't super consistent either. I have a hard time stitching in a hoop on a camera. My stitches are not as clean and neat. Okay, you're welcome. So anyways, you see, like they look nearly identical. If you were looking really, really closely, you could see that there's a little bit of a difference, but not much. I missed the beginning. How many threads did you use in that stitch? This is all 6 strands. So I took the variegated thread and I divided it in 2 and I flipped the one end so that I had both colors, like the light and the dark, going at the same time. But it's all 6 strands. So whatever you feel like you need to practice or that you like better, do that on this center oval. So I'm not gonna stitch that with you on camera because I don't want to. But I will do it right now so that it's done for tomorrow. But yeah, whatever stitch you want to do, chain stitch or reverse chain stitch, do just this center oval. I will start working on that while I get the YouTube video uploaded, and then I will post it to my story so you can see it. Let me know if you have any questions, and tomorrow we are going to do some of our sampler stuff. So every other day we're gonna do sampler, and then the next day we'll do like a sampler plus part of the plus part of the flower. And then the next day we'll do just sampler, and then the next day we'll do sampler plus part of the flower. Wow, that's hard to say. Anyways, I will be back tomorrow. We will start using the orangey brown, orangey red, the 4130 is what we're gonna use tomorrow. So get ready for that. All right, see you guys later, bye.